Welcome to the 39th episode of the Chambler Build Series, another big progress episode. Getting all the wiring in, we should get the cooling system hooked up, heater in, new paneling in here. Without further ado, let's get to it and let's see how far we can get in this episode. We have the wires. The wires. That should be headlights. Yeah, there's that stupid safety thing. And there's random sensors that some of this stuff's going to be reused, some of it isn't.
Yeah, question is where these vacuum lines go to.
Those are not vacuum lines. That's for the washer tank.
Oh, der.
No, you're good, dude. Trust me, that was my first thought when I think this is my third time taking one of these harnesses apart.
I took the computer off for now.
Yeah, the computer will have to go somewhere over there. I'm not super duper worried about it. Final placement stuff, I'm not too worried about as long as I have it
connected.
Yeah.
See what our lengths are like.
See what has to be modified or not. The biggest part is going to be trying to stuff that you might have to take it apart to get it back there. My friend Keith was able to put all 3 holes in the firewall that I need for the wiring. As soon as the outside dries, I'm going to go ahead and put a light coat of paint on the inside, at least primer. That way I can start moving forward. I didn't want to paint it so I don't have rust coming through the holes. You did a really nice job and I really do appreciate it. I need to shave. It's been a long couple weeks. In the Cherokee, they have a strap like this on the factory one, so I'm going to go ahead and replicate it because those 2 little sheet metal screws are just not going to be enough to hold the weight of a gallon of fluid in this thing, so I'm going to pop the ribbon up in here. I'm actually going to use steel ones though. Got the piece all painted and taped up. I put some gaffer tape on, or 200-mile-an-hour tape. That's what we used to call it during prototyping. Give me a little bit of wear resistance. I thought I had some sticky back Velcro with the soft side, and I don't, so it's something I'll have to upgrade later. I'm going to paint the bolt head just so you don't see it. Still got to figure out where we're going to put the computer. It's likely going to go here, but that can wait a little bit. Radiator is in. The exterior fuse box is all set to go. It doesn't want to fit with the stock coolant tank, which would fit approximately here. I'm not sure if it's just a limitation of the sizing. I think we had to push it down, and so I'll have to find something else, unfortunately. But, you know, small thing. I think I'm actually going to be able to get a battery back in here. I have a small one that I got for this car originally. You can look back and see one of the original videos of this car. I do believe it's going to fit here. There's a lot of other stuff to do first to make sure that everything else works. We've got the dash in to mock up the blower motor, the Amazon blower motor. So the car almost looks like a car again in some sections.
Right, wipers, I can feel the vacuum nubs on the back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you really wanted to, you could just also crimp, if you have enough of the old Cherokee stuff, you could crimp the ballast resistor wiring, notch this to put the ballast resistor in it at a later date, so you actually had some speeds, so you could have low and high.
It does have that with the controller, but we'll have to...
Yeah, you have to have airflow across them, because they always put them inside the boxes.
Yeah. All right, buddy Derek was kind enough to get this thing mocked up in place. I want to raise it about 1 inch. I want these ducts to just be right at the top, this top to be right here. Well, I'm going to pull the bracket off, pull this out, mark them up 1 inch, and throw it back in and see how it fits. I have the bracket in, it's modified. I raised it up, pushed it back. I can get the glove box in, but it's going to be very close to that heater, and I don't think I want to burn up a cardboard glove box. My friend Ryan's welding, so pardon me. So I'll figure out something to do with this, because I don't think this is going to survive with all that heat going through it. Of course, now I can't take it out, but, you know. Well, that's how it would sit, you know, because now I have to pull it out. There we go. So I've got this all mocked up and laid out. I also finished fitting the caps that were original to the bad body work in the 80s. I cleaned them up, made them fit a little better, so I'm going to put those back on. I just don't have time to make any more custom panels. This is 2 pieces of 20 gauge. I went ahead and went thinner just because I needed to be able to form it as quickly as I could. This is what I could get at Home Depot. It fits up pretty dang nice. I got everything done. I'm going to clean it up a little more beforehand. Same thing with the outside stuff. Make sure everything's good, and then it's panel bond time. I'm also going to do any little quick floor patches I can, simply because the tubes are expensive and I need to use as much of it as I can, as quickly and as correctly as I can. So, ooh, dashboard action. I hit the dash, both these areas, and a couple other spaces on the floor and some of the seams on the floor. Let this stuff sit overnight, pop this stuff free first thing in the morning. As long as it's hard and dry, I'll hit it with a light coat of seam sealer in certain areas. Give it a coat of paint, Clamptoberfest. Since the panel bond's drying, there's about half the car I can't touch, so for the next couple hours I'm gonna do stuff like clean up the coil packs, put new boots on it. So I got those. Figured it was just cheaper to do this because it was about 20 bucks to get this, and it's 75 bucks to get a new coil pack. So I'm gonna go ahead and see how this works. Got new plugs, throw those in, or hopefully my friend Keith or Derek or somebody will help me as I'm doing that because I do have more fab to do. I also picked up a tire inflator to take with me. It's one of the cigarette powered little ones. Good price. Found this on Junkyard Necromancer's channel. He's running a deal. If you use his code, you get a discount. He gets a little bit of a kickback as well. So if you need one of these bad boys, go check out his thing. I'll make sure to link in the description. I'll also try to link it up here as well. So check it out. I'm gonna go through this stuff. Figured I'd show it to you, and now I gotta get back to doing stuff. I got the holes drilled out to mount the computer, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. I can throw the coolant tank back on. I'm gonna be using New Guy's Garage's favorite, the flathead screw, simply because that's what I've got, and yeah, it is what it is today. I prefer not to. I'd rather use something that isn't a machine screw, but the holes are small, and I don't have a lot of time, so it would probably help if I put that in the correct hole. That would be fantastic. It's early Sunday morning and I am tired. What in the fish sticks is going on here? Now this is done, I can put the radiator back and get the wash tank back in place. These have had about 18 hours to set up. Everything seems to be solid. Let's see if I can get the Clecos out. That's good, one so far. Awesome. I was kind of worried about that they would have set in with the material. Seems to be good. I'm going to go ahead and fill these with seam sealer. A couple little holes, probably seam seal along here. I might trim this edge down. Let's see if we can go 2 for 2. I am going to have to trim this edge on this side because this panel is way out of whack, but I'll trim this down for sure. Let's check the inside. Oh, let's go ahead and pull the lower braces and I'll pull the Clecos. These come out and the board comes off. That's good. Here's a real test. Ooh, that one stuck a bit, but still came out. First gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, reverse. Oh, I also used the panel bond to join the new floor that I made with the Cherokee floor in any spots I could. A couple areas that I left bare because I'm going to have to put a hat section to put the driver's and passenger seat in, so I'll weld that up and possibly seam seal it later. Or I should say panel bond. All of my new patch panels have a coat of seam sealer on them, including all the little holes from all the rivets that he put in the floor. At least all that I could see. I also threw some seam sealer in the cowl area from the inside and any place I could reach.
You know, one of them was so badly corroded that electrodes were green.
Why, the ones you took out?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're in the bed of the Comanche. 3 Denzos and 3 auto lights, I think.
I've never run any but the Champions, and I've always had good luck with them, so.
As they say, put back in what you took out. The exception of Japanese stuff and NGK. They just seem to work in everything.
NGK makes a lot of factory stuff too, though.
There's factory, and then there's the aftermarket with the same branding, but a different heat range, and all the other Mickey Mouse bullshit you can run into.
I know a lot of people use the NGKs when they're running turbos and different stuff when they need different heat ranges because they have a fairly large selection as far as I know. Yeah. Oh, now you broke it. Keith just did the coil pack and the plugs for me, and he is changing out my oil pressure sensor because the wires snapped off.
Yeah, you don't need an oil pressure sensor. Just run with it. It doesn't. What you don't know won't hurt you. I made a mess. So
Keith has the computer connected, the fan shroud and electric fan in, the hoses on, upper and lower, and pretty much everything else connected. I have several of the factory core sport tops, so I'll be able to cut them up and make sure that all this stuff fits together. But let me know when you're ready for me to push back. I should have asked you to wipe this off first before we put it back in. And think about it.
You're going to take it all back apart anyhow to release the master eventually. Before I go any further, you realize that you won't be able to get your aluminum bracket in place with this here, right?
Yeah, I can. When you get them all kind of snug, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I need this in to get that bracket in place. That aluminum bracket sits in front of it. It should sit behind it, but I'm gonna need the pedal in to get that one bolt hole to tie the pedal and the bracket together for the steering column.
So we better get the bracket in now so I can get it.
No, I'm gonna have to make a bracket to fit between the brackets.
Okay.
No, I'll show you because I want to have your opinion because what I want to do.
They're all in there, not going anywhere.
The booster is in place. I was finally able to find the lines because I have the full replacement kit, so that's all good to go. Keith got that done for me, which is awesome. We also put the steering column mount. I'm fairly sure I know how I'm going to fabricate the mounts for that, so it'll actually still work. That'll be a little later in this episode. All the wiring is in to run through the firewall. Once I get the firewall primed and painted, I can start putting the electrical inside the cabin, whatever you like to call it. You okay? Mm-hmm. There was a slight possibility of that. At least the car didn't fold in half.
Yeah, you're not that lucky.
Well, there's a record of our death if it did, so there's that.
By pushing down on it, make.
I know. I didn't know it. You didn't mention it, so I'm like, oh, is this thing moving? No, I thought the car was having problems.
No, just you.
Then I thought, oh, maybe it's just Keith.
No, it's you.
Nope. I think you're taking the cord with you there, killer.
I know.
Remember, I don't have insurance on you.
Neither do I.
Oh, that's good.
I have a health savings plan.
Well, it'll help. Went ahead and primed and painted the interior. It's looking pretty good. So this part's done. I'm going to go ahead and grind off the B-pillar trim from that tube, which is right behind where the camera is. I'm out of the inner fuse block and the kick panels on the other end of my live stream. I've got to go ahead and pull them back off so I can get the dash in here and fit it. I'm also going to go ahead and trim and adjust the steering column mount, which I also fit in the live stream. So go check that out. I'll try to link it up here. That live stream was great. We actually had Learning with Juan on, so Juan was awesome. He came on. That was cool. Go check out the channel Learning with Juan, LNA Auto Works, New Guy's Garage, New Guy's Guitar, Does Nothing Special, and Pickle with Pickle. You can watch me put red on send live on screen. It's good times. This is old-fashioned air conditioning. No air conditioning, air conditioning. You want to adjust it? Just go ahead and close it up. Oh, no air conditioning. Screwdriver. See, I lost my marbles. I don't have any to lose. And, right in front of my freaking face. Unfortunately, I have to take these trim panels back off because they hide the bolt that secures the lower mount. Uh-oh. That's not good. Well, that's not great. That broke off. Well, this is a lower mount for the dashboard, and it's now free. So, crap. Got to fit the column mount first, then I have to put the dash back in, and hopefully it won't be the last time, it'll be near the last time, but I gotta fix that. Yeah, it'll be fine. It's not the only thing that scares the dash. So, then go ahead and put the column support in. I had to grind these spaces off and cut this ear off, so I'm going to go ahead and slide it in now. Hopefully it fits a little better. Oh wow, it fits much better. I'm going to have to go ahead and put the dash in and see if it hits because the dash sits right here and I'm afraid it's going to hit these, so I'm probably going to have to cut the top off and drill slots lower, but let's see. I'll throw the dash in and see what happens. Oh boy. Oh, go catch it, ouch. Oh, that's awesome. That actually should just clear. Freaking cool. That's a win. I'll take that. I made this little brace. It's going to fit into the existing holes, and that'll allow me to mount the Cherokee steering column support. I can put the Cherokee column support in, space it out as I need to because this is at an angle that's different from the column support. Start putting in all the other brackets I've made, including this little one and the ones I've made for these bolt holes. It's 1/8 inch by 1 inch bar stock, by the way. I should have everything correctly spaced this time. Throw this in. Should be for the last time. I've got a lot of bolts to start. I made these little wing nuts for the upper brackets, which I'll show you after I get it installed because there's no way to get a wrench in there. I dropped what I needed to not drop. Yeah, no, that'll help. There we go. I had to notch this arm to clearance for the bolt head. I do want to be able to take these things off on occasion. Hopefully never, but I'd still like to have the option if it needs to be an option. To get those 4 remaining nuts and bolts, I'm going to have to go up underneath again. I don't think I'll be able to show you too much of it in process. I'll show you when it's done. Those are all set. The column support is all set. It's nice and tight. Now I'm going to try to fit the dash, cut out what I need to cut out, and then I can put the column in and do all the under dash wiring and figure out the final positioning for the heater core. I'm literally waiting for paint to dry, and I went ahead and modified the dash, pulled some of the switches, cut some of the lower components that I needed off for the brackets, threw the dash, well, the gauges in, and they're going to fit. I'm going to have to modify the heck out of everything, but it's going to work. I've got everything mocked up and ready for the heater core. It was kind of a nightmare trying to put the stuff in through the cowl. I should have done the mounting bracket before I did everything else, but things kind of got away from me, so got to bolt this in and bolt it on the sides, and I can get ready to put it all in with the bracket. I like to get everything started, especially with something that was hand assembled like this, and then tighten everything down. Put a rib nut in the back so it'll give me some place to mount against the wall, and put a rib nut below the standard one so I have something to hold the bracket so it's not so prone to shaking apart. Hopefully anyway. I'm going to go ahead and stick the bracket up into the mount. Then I'm going to seam seal the bejesus out of it first, put it up there, bolt it on, and leave it alone for a day, let it cure, get nice and tight. I had other plans, but the way this worked out, this is what I'm going to have to do to seal it. Well, that should seal everything up. That's, again, not how I wanted to do it, but it is just the way it ended up. Should still work out just fine. Like I said, I'll let this sit. I've got to run all the wiring and do the dash. I can't touch the camera with a goo on my hands. Do the dash and the cluster and everything else. So I'm going to start doing that and keep moving forward. That didn't work. I riveted a little panel onto this mount. This is for the cluster. So it's going to go like so. I'm going to have to form it, but I wanted to get it in place, at least on the bracket. Well, literally, I'm done watching paint dry, so I can stick bolts in here and go to town on this thing. I'm using Torx heads because I have an abundance of them, and because they should give me no clearance issues with the gauge cluster. I'll put at least another fastener in here to secure it, possibly something off the back so it doesn't bounce. I have to use this bracket because the wiring for the gauge cluster actually secures the cell to the plastic, and I can't use the gauges without the wiring. So I'm kind of stuck with it, so I'll make sure it's nice and strong. But it's a good start, and I can get things running, figure out where it needs to be, and lock it in now that it's in place. Yeah, I didn't set the hammer on fire. Okay, well, the driver's side's done. Again, not perfect, but I am happy it's going to be strong enough, and just don't look at the other side of it, because that's where the view is. Passenger side's next, and we'll get the seats in and fit them. And you turned the camera away, didn't you?
Very dirty.
Huh?
It's dirty.
What's dirty?
The seat.
It's been in a garage full of grinder dust for 8 months. Well, you can vacuum them if it makes you feel better. Gonna edit that out. It's gonna fall. Let it fall. I'll move it. These rear outer seat bolts used to be threaded, and well, they're no good anymore, so I had to drill them completely out. I'm gonna drill it back up and through, and then we can bolt the seat in the back and adjust and make the brackets I need for the front. Should have done this before I put the seat in, but you know. The driver's seat is in place. I have a length of T-bar that I got from a garage door that I parted out, and I made a great seat mount for the front. And I'm going to get the steering column in, I'll mount the passenger seat, and then I'll get back to the wiring. Well, let's see if I can get the steering column in by myself. I should be able to in theory. The biggest problem is probably going to be sliding the shaft together in the firewall. I'm going to leave the steering wheel in the driver's seat and see if I can connect the steering shafts together. I highly doubt you can see anything I'm doing because I can't even see what I'm doing. I need my finger. I need my hand. Well, oh, it's going together. I know, this is exciting TV here. Well, it is together, so try to put the column into the bracket. The objective is to get this bracket into these holes and this bracket into those holes. Or studs, I should say. This bracket needs to be the other way around. At least I think it does. I have the column upside down. Okay. Yeah, that's the problem. Well, hell. Hey! Glad I didn't lock the gauges down because the tilt column hits the gauges, so I'll have to modify that. At least get the lower bolts on and take the gauge mount out. Glad I did this now rather than locking that down any more than I already had. I'm going to take that bracket off. Yeah, so I mean, it's a steering wheel. It's in place. It's back a little far for my liking, but some of that will be addressed when I can actually afford to buy a different steering wheel, which I can't at the moment, but in your teeth. No driving nice. I'm actually going to have to put the dashboard back in here and see if I can fit it. I might have to move it farther forward. I just don't quite know where it's going to end up yet. First thing I'm going to do is go ahead and mount the passenger seat brackets. Get that out of the way, then I can tear all this stuff out, throw the dashboard back in here, and figure out where everything needs to go. And the wiring, which is what I plan on doing. But when help is available, I got to take advantage of it, and I'll get back to doing the other stuff. We'll see how it adds together. I'll try to make it as coherent as humanly possible for those watching. You guys, and girls, and dogs, and fish. I'll show some clips of what I had to do earlier, but I'm going to have to trim more of the dash. I'm going to trim it along that marker line so I can get it up around the column. It's not what I wanted to do, but I'm out of time, so I'm going to make it look as nice as I can. I'll come back in at some point after No Name and customize and make this look better, but as long as it fits and is clean, it'll be just fine. I have the new brackets made for the instrument cluster for the column, and I have strategically placed license plates where things were a little holy. And in case I didn't mention it before, everything is painted up to the rear wheel wells. It's finally time to put the fenders back on. My friend Keith took all the trim off of it, I see. I'm going to go ahead and power wash all the junk out of them, or at least as much as I can, and this is probably going to be disgusting, but time to do it. Oh man, this fender was absolutely destroyed. There's got to be at least a 1/4 inch of Bondo on the outside of this fender, so I'm not going to be able to go too much crazier with it. I do need to get all this crap off that I can because I'm going to cut the wheel wells open. You're fine, Max. He's about 90 pounds, 4 feet tall, and 4 feet long. And he's my little boy. Aren't you, Bubba? Okay, let's go. That learn's over. We're going to try to put the fenders back on. There's a bolt that goes in through here, so I'm going to see if I can get that to start, and then we can fiddle with it. Yeah. So if you're going to look at this car at No Name, make sure you look at it on the passenger side because as screwed up as it is, the fender's going to fit better. It almost looks like a car again. I don't want to say that out loud too much because there's a lot left to do. Well, I fabricated up a battery tray out of the existing battery tray and made it fit. Battery is unfortunately at an angle. It's just the way it's probably going to be. I'll try to tweak the mount a little bit, but you won't notice it with everything else, or you'll only notice it because I said it. Now I just have to figure out where I'm going to put the tie downs, get everything in this area repainted, bolt it in, seal it to the firewall in a couple spots, and it's good to go. We're going to have to go ahead and call this episode to a close here. It's not as complete as I'd like it to be, but the battery tray's in, the new brackets for the gauge cluster are in, steering column's in, seat brackets are in. Now I'm stuck with a rib nut just stripped out in the bracket for the heater core, so I've got to spend time on that. And I've got to get this video finished and out to you guys, so if you're into here, like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully I'm earning your subscription. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. I'm still working on this thing to go to no name. That is the goal. It's coming down to the wire. See you next week. Thanks. Oh, rib nuts.